Hey, this is Steve Halleck of TikToking. Check me out at TikToking.com. I'm at Steve Halleck on Instagram, and I've got another really cool watch for you guys today. So here I have the Christophe Claret Adagio minute repeater. Now, Christophe Claret is really famous for making movements for other brands, and specifically minute repeaters and tourbillons. He makes all the minute repeaters for, say, Ulysse Nardin, many other brands, and you can usually tell the movements all kind of look similar. His tourbillon cage kind of looks like this. I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you see that in a movement, then you know it's a Claret movement. And basically when brands need to have a really highly complicated watch, but they don't want to invest the time and energy and money especially to do it themselves, they go to Claret. Well, he started his own brand in, I think, around 2010, 2011, and this is the second watch of his brand, and it's the first minute repeater that he made under his own name. So he saved a lot of really cool innovations for this one. The first thing you notice is the case and the dial and the hands, and the finishing on everything is just spectacular. It's very, very, very well done. Has a little bit of a Grubel Forsey feel in the case proportions, in the overall fit and finish. It's just, and in the dial also, that this sort of frosted, stepped gold and rhodiumed three-dimensional dial feel, all kind of has that same feel, but it's really killer. And it immediately just feels like a substantial, important, luxurious watch, even if you didn't see the minute repeater slide. Of course, that puts it way over the top. So let's go through some of the functions here. It's been really made for being super practical. So the first thing you notice is it's really easy to read. You've got, again, the dial gives a lot of contrast with these extremely beautiful blued hands, and the hands are quite big, and it's overall just very, very legible. And then you have two of my favorite, I don't know if you could call a date a complication, but a big date is definitely on the realm of a complication. I love a big date, and this is a really cool one. It's got a patented mechanism so that the 10s and the 1s can never become desynchronized. Sometimes with langas or glasutas or something, if they get too much of a shock or something like that, it can screw up the date, and that's an area that breaks. So that's been thought of here and ensured that it doesn't break. And up here, you've got a second time zone that's got a day-night indicator that's really cool, that fades from like white to dark blue. Which is the little circle in there, and I'll show you how that stuff works in a minute. Over here, you've got a seconds counter. There were a bunch of different models of the Adagio. Different case metals were rose gold, platinum, and white gold, but also a bunch of different dials, and a lot of them were like, I don't know if it's semi-precious stones, but like stone dials, like lapis, and what was another one? I think onyx was one. I don't know. I'm not a stone expert. I don't know if those are considered semi-precious. But the ones like that had these big windows. Here it had a seconds counter that was in a window, and there was a big window around the date. I like the aesthetics of this version quite a bit more. That one was a little bit too ornate for my likes. But this is probably the prettiest Claret that I've seen, just aesthetically. It's just a kind of stunning watch. So another cool thing about these functions is that they're controlled via pushers. And I really like that. I hate controlling things through a crown because I'm always worried I'm on the wrong setting, or I'm going to go in the wrong direction and break something. And you definitely don't want to break your minute repeater. Also, it's nice to just jump really quickly. So the date is self-explanatory. You just push this and the date moves. And the second time zone also jumps via this button. So if you want to advance it by hours, you just push here, and you can see there the day-night indicator also going. We're going into nighttime, going around, and then watch how it fades into day. So now it's like blue, and we're coming into the daytime. Now it's fading back to white, and now, you know, we're at the AM, 8 a.m., and it's getting light outside, so it's white. So a day-night indicator is actually a really useful thing to have with a second time zone, I find. I'm in Los Angeles. I deal with a lot of people in Southeast Asia, and I never know what time it is there. And so it's very valuable to not only have the time set, but to know if it's 7 a.m. or p.m., or even more importantly, is it 1 a.m. or 1 p.m., are people awake or asleep. So that's, I find, a really super useful complication to have. And the big date is just my favorite because it's really easy to see and I never know what date it is. So that's nice. Another really cool thing that this has, it's a manual wind watch, and there's a mechanism which is impossible to really show you in a video, but there's a mechanism where the crown disengages when it's fully wound. So you can't overwind it. You get to the end and it just kind of skips a little bit, and that's a disengagement. So that's another thing that worries me with manual wind watches, especially ones like this that you really don't want to break. So again, a lot has been thought of to make sure that this watch is reliable and easy to wear, and it's really something that could be like an everyday watch. If you're comfortable wearing a gold watch, most people wouldn't know it's a minute repeater, obviously, and it's got these useful complications, and it's got things that prevent it from breaking. Another one of those things is in the minute repeater mechanism itself. So let's get to that. So if you see the movement here, it's a pretty traditional layout for a minute repeater, but the first thing you can see is it's got cathedral gongs. So a cathedral gong is basically double the length of a regular minute repeater gong. It's what Patek uses on all their newer minute repeaters. I think they started in 2001 using cathedral gongs. It's a lot more difficult to do because to fit a double length gong in the case is hard, and the curves have to be perfect. And then also you have more stuff that can bang against itself when the gongs get struck, and in any sort of shocks on the watch and stuff like that. So this also has a patented system that keeps that from happening. It keeps the gongs from knocking against each other with the hammers. And then the case has also been designed to get the maximum resonance out of the minute repeater mechanism. So you can see there's extra space in sort of like an air chamber around the gongs there, and it's anchored here so that it can vibrate the most. So there's a whole science to this, and obviously Claret has built so many minute repeaters by now that they really know what they're doing. So let's give it a listen, and we'll see how it sounds. It's a super, super clean sounding minute repeater. I'm not sure how well my microphone picks up sounds, but it's actually, it's perfectly loud enough to hear it. It's not deafeningly loud, obviously. Very few minute repeaters are, but it's got a nice volume and a really, really incredibly clear and resonant tone. So that's obviously what you want in a minute repeater. And let's do it one more time. I'll set it to a time where we're going to hear a little bit more of the chimes. All right. Okay, let's give it a go. So you can see it's also got a really nice rhythm to it. Some minute repeaters are way too fast that you can't count, and some are like so slow that you're just like dying for it to be over and give you the time by the time, you know, it's halfway into it. But this one has a nice speed, nice cadence. It's pretty even. It's just an overall really nice piece. So here you can see the buckle is this kind of big, thick rose gold deployant. It's very nice. It gives a good counterweight to the watch. I'm gonna show it to you on the wrist. It's 44 millimeters, but it wears really nicely even on my smaller wrist because the lugs go kind of straight down. But it's definitely got wrist presence. So check that out. It's a pretty hot watch. This is definitely in the super watch category and something that you can tell from first glance, even if you know nothing about watches, is a super special watch. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. And that's it for now.